Welcome to the Genealogy Gems Podcast, providing quick and innovative ways to make the absolute most out of your research time and creative ideas for sharing and displaying your family history. I'm your host, Louise Cooke. Thanks for joining me today for episode 25 of the Genealogy Gems Podcast. I can't tell you how happy I am to be at the microphone today. I do it guilt-free because the book is done. That's right. After a summer chained to my computer, my new book, Genealogy Gems, Ultimate Research Strategies from Season 1 of the Genealogy Gems Podcast, is finished and available online through Lulu Publishing. The book is jam-packed with genealogical gems that you can use straight from the book, or as you listen along to the podcast at www.genealogygems.tv. It was really important to me that the book stand alone as a resource tool, in addition to being a companion manual to the first 20 episodes of the podcast. And you'll find everything written out with tons of step-by-step instructions and lots of photos, as well as many things that I never even got a chance to talk about on the podcast or even include in the newsletter. It seems like as soon as I cover a topic on the show, new information comes up and I'm like, I wish I could have covered that. Well, with this book, you're going to get that too. And I wanted the book to be something that you could give to a friend or a relative, and they could find it inspiring and use it without even ever having listened to an episode. Now, I know for a fact that I achieved that goal because this last weekend we had a little family party at the house for my oldest daughter's birthday, and my uncle Buzz joined us. Now, Buzz is really supportive of my doing family research. Gosh, I could tell you stories about the way that he's helped me, but that's another show. But he's perfectly happy with me being the family historian. And he doesn't do research or go to libraries or anything like that, but he is interested in what I pull together. Well, I showed him the book hot off the press, and I figured, he'd kind of glance through it, which he did. And I started getting things ready for dinner, and every time I walked past him, his nose was deep in that book. And he'd pop his head up and exclaim, "I didn't know you could do a site search with Google." And then he'd start reading again. And then he'd pop up and he'd say, "I didn't realize you two had videos instead of that squirrely stuff the teenagers are watching. You got to show me that one on Prussia." Well, he must have read half the book that night, and he seemed really interested. And I was amazed. And suddenly I realized that I think I achieved my goal to interest those who haven't done research themselves, as well as provide a lot of solid ideas for those that have been researching for quite a while. So I hope you'll go to lulu.com, that's LULU.com, and search on Genealogy Gems, and you'll go right to the store listing for the book. And I'll also have a link to get you there from the genealogygems.tv website as well. Lulu is very cool because you can preview several pages of the book just like you would at Amazon if you were buying a book. So you'll be able to read the introduction, and you can look through the table of contents and all that stuff. And Lulu is an excellent company, and I've been amazed how quickly that they're processing orders. It's very safe and it's secure to order with them online. And I want to give you a hint about ordering. When you're checking out, the shipping will automatically show as priority mail. But if you're not in a huge hurry, use the drop-down menu and select medium mail. It is much less expensive. And it usually only takes about a week or so to receive medium mail. I believe they're shipping out of New York, so it may not be as long for those of you on the East Coast. I don't know. And if you order early before the Christmas rush starts, medium mail should be a great affordable way to go. So that's my big news. This has been a terrific adventure for me, and you guys have kept me motivated to get it finished, and I appreciate that. So be sure and go to the episode 25 show notes for a link directly to the book. Or you can go to lulu.com and search for Genealogy Gems. Now, here's a little ditty to get you ready for our next topic. That was the medley of German waltzes performed by John J. Kimmel from 1909. I just love these old cylinder recordings. Well, I picked this particular one to get you in the mood for some German history video additions to the Genealogy Gems TV page, which you can find at genealogygems.tv/pages/tv.htm. And of course, I'll have a link for you in the episode 25 show notes. Under the international section of the TV page, you will find videos about Sweden and England and 3 videos about Germany. Now, 2 of them I've mentioned in previous podcasts, the ones that were about Prussia. And I've also included one that is a very short documentary by WGTE out of Ohio. If you're going to spend an afternoon researching your German ancestors, take a moment and watch the video and you will become very inspired. And speaking of German ancestry, in the recent Genealogy Insider blog put out by Family Tree magazine, they were talking about the state of genealogy in Germany and that a lot of people, are just now kind of coming back to an interest in researching their roots in Germany. And it's not surprising that they've been kind of put off by genealogy in recent years because genealogy research was really at its most popular in Germany during the Third Reich. During World War II. And the hobby kind of left a bad taste in the mouths of a lot of Germans, which is kind of what she explores in the blog. And I wanted to mention that, she mentions a couple of different websites that are now genealogy focused coming out of Germany, and that there are TV stations that are producing genealogy focused programs. So I was looking at a couple of them and I went to the websites and I realized, oh my gosh, they're all in German. But I really would be interested in knowing a lot more about what they're doing from their end of the big pond, if you will. So I have a suggestion for you. When you come across a website that is in a foreign language, such as this one is, what you can do is I went into google.com and I typed in the name of the website that she mentioned in the blog and clicked search. Now, when the results came up, it had the website and everything, and it was all in German. But there was that option of a link on that particular page that said, translate this page. So I clicked on that, and when it pulled up the website, it came to me in English, which is great. Now, translation is not always available on all websites, but I find particularly on a lot of German websites, it is available through the Google results. So give that a shot. If you receive the Insider or you've come across some other German website or perhaps another language that you're interested in, pull it up in Google, find the listing and see if you don't see a translation link there that you can access it. Now, obviously, it's not going to be a perfect translation, but it certainly will give you a hint about what they're talking about and a chance to explore the website. And here's some news out of the Allen County Library in Fort Wayne, Indiana. I'm sure many of you may have attended the FGS conference there recently. Well, Footnote.com has announced that they're going to be digitizing the Allen County Library genealogy records. The library has the largest public genealogy collection in the U.S., so this is a pretty significant thing for researchers. I'll have a link in the show notes for you so you can visit the library's website and see what may be coming on down the road. One thing I heard from somebody who attended the conference was that as they were talking about it, what they're focusing on are records that are kind of past their copyright. So that kind of gives you a sense of, you may not see some of the more recent records or things that are under copyright, books that are under copyright, but they'll be focusing on those that the copyright has expired. The digitized records will be available for free at the library and for a fee on Footnote.com. So we'll have to keep our eye on that for sure. Well, coming up next is an interview with Kimberly Savage of My Ancestors Found and news about the Northern Utah Genealogy and Family History Jamboree. I'm visiting today with Kimberly Savage, who is Vice President of My Ancestors Found, which you can find at myancestorsfound.com. And Kimberly is here to talk with us a little bit about the upcoming Northern Utah Genealogy and Family History Jamboree. Hi, Kim.
Hi.
I'm so glad that you could take a few minutes out to talk with us and share with us a little bit about kind of what My Ancestors Found does, as well as what we can look forward to at the Jamboree. But before we jump in talking about the Northern Utah Genealogy and Family History Jamboree, tell us a little bit more about your background and your interests. How did you end up in the field of genealogy?
Well, I have been interested in family history ever since I was little. My great-grandma, she had a trunk of pictures, and I used to rummage through those pictures, and she would tell me stories, and it always fascinated me. And so ever since then, I've always been interested in family history and telling stories and finding out about my relatives and who they were. And then I've also worked with My Ancestors Found as the research manager, and now we've partnered with Holly Hansen and Janine Morgan, and the three of us, we sponsor genealogy conferences, jamborees, teaching different instructional classes, helping people learn about family history.
That's great. How long have you been involved with that work?
With family history, I've been involved for over 15 years, but with My Ancestors Found, it's been over 5 years.
So we're going to talk first about the upcoming Jamboree, and maybe you could just tell us, first of all, where it's going to be held and when, and some of the details.
The conference is being held at the Ogden Marriott Hotel, which is on 24th Street in Ogden, and it is September 15th, and it's a large facility with ample parking. We have an exhibit hall, keynote speakers that are free to the public, but currently we're accepting pre-registration for the conference.
Great. So if people want to pre-register, can they do that through your website?
Yes, at myancestorsfound.com, or they can give us a call on the phone at 801-829-3295.
Great. Now I was wondering, does My Ancestors Found focus on conferences in Utah, or do you do this on a national level?
Our conferences are all across the western states. We have a conference in St. George. We have done one in Cheyenne. We do one in Logan, Utah. Basically, in the western states are where we focus mainly.
Great. Now, this is a one-day seminar, is that right?
Correct.
So tell us a little bit about who you've got coming and what people can expect.
Well, we have, for our keynote, we have Bo Sharbrough from footnote.com. He will be talking about the digitization of the National Archives of Records. We have Dear Myrtle, who's coming from Washington. She's your friend in genealogy. She does many podcasts and things. We also have Arlene Ekel, who is a PhD, and she will be sharing her extensive knowledge on the repositories and collections close to home. We have Michael Brubaker from the Atlanta History Center in Georgia, who will be presenting research advice for using Southern collections, as well as the Family History Department from Salt Lake City. They're actually coming out, and they're going to be doing a soft release of the new family search.
Wow, that's great. It sounds like you have a top-notch list of people attending and speaking to the visitors. We
do. We have people coming from Connecticut, from California, all across the United States.
That's exciting. Now, this is going to be held in Ogden?
It is.
So now, for anybody who hasn't been to Utah yet, I assume Ogden's within driving distance of the Family History Library in Salt Lake City, isn't that right?
It is. It's about 45 minutes north of Salt Lake.
So if somebody wanted to come out and attend the one-day conference, there's probably a good opportunity there for an extended weekend to do a little bit of research at the library.
Absolutely. Come and spend the week. And, we are giving away lots of different prizes. And one of the prizes that we are giving away at the conference is a week at the Family History Library with professionals to help you one-on-one with your family history.
Wow. That would be an incentive, I think, for all of us.
I know.
Oh, that's great. So looking at your list of seminars that are going to be coming up, which one are you dying to sit in on?
Which class?
Yeah.
Well, there are so many to choose from. There's 36 different classes. We have Austrian research. Roots Magic will be here to share how they do the Roots Magic software. We have footnote.com, Genealogy Bank from Connecticut, Thomas Camp. He's going to be here talking about digital newspapers. There is Personal Historian, bringing life to your family stories. Easier Scanning. Basically, there's classes from beginner to expert. And we have Southern Research. We have Cemetery Symbols. We have a class on Hispanic research that's being taught, not only with the Hispanic, but it'll also focus on Spain and some of the European Spanish records. Tracing your French ancestors. The Genealogy Center for BYU is coming. They talk about the digitization of the records down at the BYU library. We have classes for Dear Myrtle. She's going to be teaching a class from Here to Eternity, Internet Research for the Patient Genealogist. And then we have Scottish. There's so many classes to choose from. It's just unbelievable.
It sounds great. Now, do people need to select their classes ahead of time when they register, or do they just look at the schedule and drop in on whichever ones they're interested in?
There will be 7 different classes taught each hour, and when you register, you will be given a program. And then from there, you'll be able to choose which class. And if you're not, we know it's so hard to choose from all the different classes, but if you're not able to attend one of the classes, then we do provide a syllabus with your registration on CD, so you will get all of the handouts and syllabus material for each class that is being taught.
Oh, that's great. So even if you can't be in person in each class, you're going to benefit from all of the material that they're providing.
Absolutely.
Oh, that's excellent. Well, great.
We also have an exhibit hall that is...
Oh, that's what I wanted to ask you about, was the exhibit hall. Tell us a little bit about the exhibitors. I assume some of the folks who'll be teaching classes will also be in the exhibit hall. I know I'm looking forward to being there and having a booth at the hall. Tell us more about who we can expect to see.
Well, we're so excited that you're coming and being able to be there with us and share the excitement. We have generation maps. They do pedigree charts and different maps with your family. We have the Sorensen Molecular Genealogy Foundation for DNA research. We have Hello World. Hello World is a podcast internet genealogy company that helps you share one-on-one video podcasts with each other to help collaborate with those who may not live near you. We have Family Learn. We have the Genealogy Institute, Life Story Productions, Creative Memories. We have the Family History Center is going to be there. There's going to be Passage Express, World Vital Records, and the Genealogy Shelf, one of the largest booksellers for family history in the Western States, is coming. And those are just to name a few.
You know, I was looking at Hello World, so they're specifically focused on genealogy?
They actually do a lot of other services, but part of their focus is on family history, yes.
I know that they have a wide range of media services, and they're maybe helping genealogists figure out how to utilize those technologies to communicate?
Correct. Yes.
Great. Now, I also think I saw on the list timeline videos. Is that right?
Yes. Yes, they are coming, and they will help you share your memories through interviewing, through video productions, helping you preserve those histories from your older relatives.
Well, is there anything else that we need to know about the seminar before we get on the internet and take a look at the possibility of going?
Well, I know that Jimmy Parker, he's was the former manager of the Family History Library in Salt Lake, and he's a veteran conference attendee. If I may, I'd like to quote what he said about our conference. He said that There is something valuable for everyone at a fraction of the cost of a national genealogical conference. With more than 36 classes being offered, there is something for everyone from beginners to the very advanced researcher. To me, that's what makes this conference so exciting.
Well, it does sound exciting, and I can't wait to be there. I can't wait to get the chance to meet you in person. I want to thank you so much for spending a few minutes with us here on the podcast and talking to the listeners.
Thank you so much. We appreciate your time and efforts, and we're so excited to be able to meet you as well.
Great. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.
You know, local, national, and worldwide news has changed a lot since the internet came along, particularly in the case of local newspapers. Nowadays, they're often owned by large corporations, and they just don't really reflect small-town life. And that's certainly the case where I live. But this is a pretty recent phenomenon. The newspapers of our parents and our grandparents and beyond were often filled with the comings and goings of the local people, which made them fantastic research tools. I particularly love newspapers because they can go far beyond names and dates. They can paint a day-by-day or a week-by-week picture of our ancestors and their communities. However, old newspapers haven't always been the easiest sources to track down and get your hands on. Thankfully, the internet is changing that as well, and it's definitely a positive thing. The genealogy database site World Vital Records is providing increased access to the collection of newspaperarchive.com, which is the largest online subscription newspaper database. The first release of the newspaperarchive.com data, which is 40 million records ranging from 1759 to 1923, went up on August 27th of 2007. And I am recording this on September 4th of 2007. Well, World Vital Records is giving 10 days of free access to these new editions. So that's 10 days from August 27th. So you've got a couple of days left. Now, after the 10 days free access, it's going to cost $49.95 for a 2-year subscription to access those databases. I'll have a link to the World Vital Records Browse Databases page so that you can see if there's anything that might benefit your research. And you can search by name, place, year, and keyword, and results are linked to images of the original newspaper pages. As you can imagine, there were countless newspapers around the country and hundreds of thousands of pages over the years. So we have to keep our hopes kind of in check in these early days of the digitization of newspapers. I browsed the World Vital Records database looking to see if they had any newspapers from any of the locations where my ancestors lived. And unfortunately, time after time, there was nothing. Remember last episode I closed with saying regarding brick walls that if you're ready to give up, you're probably closer than you think. So never give up and never surrender, right? Well, it was certainly true in this case with the newspapers. I was just about to log off and surrender to the fact that there was nothing there for me when I went back one more time and I checked for a kind of a long shot, a very small town called Winthrop, Minnesota. Now, that name might sound familiar to you. As you may recall from episode 3, my husband's Larson family lived in Winthrop and ran a hardware and lumber business. And I had talked about finding a little screwdriver from the family store on eBay. Well, lo and behold, World Vital Records has a great many years' worth of the Winthrop news in their database. And all of a sudden, I was on an 8-hour marathon printing and downloading articles. I literally now have hundreds of pages containing articles mentioning the family as well as old ads for the family business. Now, this particular newspaper kept very detailed accounts of the social calendars of its residents. So everything from surgeries they were recovering from, trips taken, parties given, and moves they were making because of World War I, they were all recorded. World Vital Records has a search function that allowed me to search my family name. Now, since there were thousands of pages, this saved me a great deal of time. And when you pull up the record, the search words are highlighted in yellow, which means locating the information on the page is actually really quick. For viewing the pages themselves, they offer 2 image viewers, the basic viewer and the enhanced viewer. Now, as a note, The enhanced requires Java, which I had to download before I could actually use it, so you may run into that. And in the enhanced viewer, there is a printer-friendly option, but beware because it prints the entire page, which, due to the size of the original, it rendered it unreadable. I couldn't read a thing on it. It was just kind of blurry. I recommend using the basic view to print from. However, what I noticed with that is you're only going to get the upper left corner of the page. And in my case, that was about a quarter of the entire page in that upper left-hand section. And even if I was viewing the lower right-hand corner, it still only printed the upper left. And I couldn't find a way around this, and maybe if you do, you can email me and we can pass that along. But in the end, I realized there were so many pages that I wanted to record that printing really wasn't very practical. It was getting kind of expensive. So some pages were just tiny mentions of the family. And I wanted to get them, but I didn't necessarily need to print the entire thing. So I decided that saving those pages to my hard drive made the most sense. Then I could trim and I could print the article later if I wanted a hard copy. Now, interestingly, there is no save feature offered on this. I'm not sure why. I don't know that I'd be real happy about that if I had to pay the full subscription price and there wasn't a way to save the images, like you do in Ancestry.com. However, you can right-click on the image when you're in the basic viewer, and that will save it. So when you right-click, a window is going to pop up, and you can select where it says Save Picture As. Now, always be sure to type the file extension after the name of the file when you're about to save it. I know on my computer that oftentimes the image won't save properly when I'm copying it from the internet if I don't do it. So you might name the file Winthrop News, January 12th, 1922.gif, and that GIF file will get it onto your computer. Now, before I go any further, I want to add a disclaimer to this. You need to determine for yourself if there are any copyright issues with saving images. It just seemed very odd that they didn't offer that option. And some of the images had something on there about copyright. I think they're from the original sources. So I went and I checked the website's copyright information, and it says that it's a limited use license, and you can access and use the World Vital Records and its content for personal and professional family history of genealogy research. The only thing that they seemed to be against was, you couldn't do some massive download. Some people go around stealing other people's websites and their databases, so we're not talking about that. But there didn't appear to be anything against saving individual files that apply to your personal research. So that sounds fine to me, but it all seemed a little confusing, so I just wanted to encourage you to check that out for yourself. You will probably find that you come across a newspaper for an area where your ancestors lived, but they only have recent issues, such as like 2002 through 2006. This is the case with a lot of the papers that are listed on the website. Now, personally, I'd like to see, more of the older papers, as I was so fortunate to find the Winthrop News. But before you pass over these modern papers, here's a little gem for you. Some newspapers carry a history section or a kind of a looking back column where they run old articles. In the case of the Winthrop News, I wasn't going to bother with a more recent issue that came up in my search results because I knew that there weren't any family members still living in Winthrop in those later years, like, 2002. But of course, curiosity gets me every time, and I had to go take a look at it anyway. And there I found a yellow highlighted name of one of my husband's ancestors in an article entitled Twice Told Tales. Well, it turns out that the newspaper digs back into its archives and it runs articles that are 25, 50, 75 years old, sort of an anniversary section for the town's history. Now, here's the real beauty of this. World Vital Records only has a selection of years from the past newspapers that are digitized. Now, certainly in the case of the Winthrop News, they did not have all of them by any means. It appeared that they had made an attempt to kind of get a good sampling of various years. But the Twice Told Tales column that I found in so many of the more recent issues, and in this case it was like from 1950 on to the current day, they included important articles about the family that the website didn't have the originals of. So while they didn't have, let's say, the year 1946 digitized, the Twice Told Tales column of a 2006 edition did have a 1946 article about the family. I got his great-grandmother's full-length obituary this way. So don't miss those new issues. You may find some real gems. Well, we've come to the close of another episode. As always, you'll find links for all the websites I mentioned in today's podcast in the show notes. You can go to www.genealogygems.tv and click on the podcast button, and that will take you to all the show notes. And if you have any questions or comments, you can reach me at genealogygemspodcast@gmail.com. And I just want to tell you, I have been overwhelmed by the response to the newsletter. I just sent out the September issue, and if you haven't signed up for the free Genealogy Gems podcast newsletter, this would be a great time. In fact, if you want to take a look at a past issue, go to the genealogygems.tv website and click on the newsletter button on the left-hand side. And on the newsletter page, you just scroll down to the bottom and you click on the link that says May 2007 back issue. As you'll see, we cover a lot of great extra information and ideas that go along with the podcast. The newsletter is absolutely free, so all you need to do to receive it is to click on the Click Here link on the newsletter page, and that'll open up an email that's addressed to genealogygemsnewsletter@gmail.com. And just type the word subscribe in the subject line of the email, and in the body, you can just tell me how you heard about the podcast. And if you want to include your name too, that would be great. My promise to you is that your email is going to be kept confidential and not be shared with anyone else. And I'll send you the September 2007 issue or the current issue for the month that you are listening to this episode in. And as a special bonus, an email giving you access to this week's Genealogy Gem Google Gadget. You'll have to listen to episode 15 to learn more about Google Gadgets, but I know that you'll enjoy it. So as soon as we finish up this episode, go to the website and check it out. I'd love to hear from you. And I hope I will see you at the Northern Utah Genealogy and Family History Jamboree at the Marriott Hotel in Ogden on Saturday, September 15th, 2007. It should be a terrific conference, and I'm really looking forward to it. I will be in booth 302 in the exhibition hall. So I hope you'll come by and you'll say hello. I would love to meet you. And again, for more information or to register online, visit the My Ancestors Found website. So until next time, have a wonderful week, and I will talk to you soon.